Welcome to the space where creators have aligned a positive and intellectual collab of open minds. For sharing and learning from one another, it's a vibe. ReadswithRosa podcast on the mic. Subscribe, educator spitting bars. I guess you didn't know I'm multifaceted and humble, taking off life goals. The classroom is my comfort zone where I plant and sow seeds of knowledge, compassion, empathy, and hope. Reading is the key to unlocking your potential. Countless benefits, including cognitive and mental. Regardless of the genre, books are highly influential. Go get yours, I'll get mine. Making strides, monumental. Come rock with me and get down to this new jam. With my friends, I had a very simple plan. Educate the masses through books and life lessons. It's the grand slam. I'm out.
Talo Falava and welcome to the Reads with Rosa podcast. You are in for such a treat today because guess what, fam? Today is a collab. But let me start by saying I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. She is a communication specialist and the director of branding agency Saturday Fly. She is a proud Macaulay High School alumni and the host of the Tima Talks podcast. Welcome to the show, Fatima Lui. How are you, sis?
Oh, man. What? Oh, thank you, sis. Thank you for having me. I'm good. And what an intro, man. I forgot that I went to Macaulay, but thank you for reminding me.
Don't lie. You did not forget.
Yeah, long
Man,
time.
it's so good to see you, sis. I am so grateful. It's such an honor to have you on the show. Like, honestly, when I reached out to you, I was just like, oh, I don't know, man. She's pretty famous. I don't know what she's going to say, but I'm so humbled, sis. Thank you so much for coming through. How's things in Sydney?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I just got here 6 months ago. So I love it, and I'll talk more about this later on the podcast, but I've had a massive, massive change in my life. And, with all the experiences, I thought that all the wisdom that I've got now, I would have had at like 25, but it took me 32 years, so being 32 next month, to finally be at a place where I'm like, I actually have a sense of direction. Because throughout my 20s, I was like trying all these different things and then, failing at this, failing at that, succeeding in this. But Sydney I wish I came earlier. Like, I love it so much here. Have you been?
I have been to Sydney, but it's usually just to like visit family, stop by. Yeah, not really like stayed longer than like a week or anything like that. But
well, if you do, you know where I'm at. I'm in Sydney as well. So let me know.
Yeah, likewise, you know where I'm at. I know you love Japan. Sis, whenever these borders open for the general public, you are more than welcome to come visit. I'd love to have you here. Anyways, before we get into the podcast, I really wanted to give you an opportunity to give us a brief intro. I usually ask the guests to shout out their villages and their people. So here's your chance.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody. So my name is Fatima, also known as Tima Talks. I have a podcast as well. And so I love, tuning into other people's podcasts, such as Reads with Rosa, West Network. I also found a podcast, got so many favorite podcasts. I am a proud Samoan woman, born and bred in New Zealand, now living in Sydney. Again, you already mentioned that. And my mom is from Lotofanga Aleipata. So shout out to anyone from Lotofanga. And my dad is from Ngangaifo Levau in Lefanga. So both very touristy villages. My parents come from very, very touristy villages and they're beautiful beaches. And I'm very proud to come from such a pretty villages. Yeah.
On your podcast, you talk about one of the things that you like to talk about is books. And I was wondering, were you always a reader growing up, or was it later on in life that you kind of got into reading?
No, I was a reader when I was little because, we grew up with only one TV in the house and, we didn't have gadgets and we didn't have video games and stuff. So coming from quite a working class, low economic family. So I wanted to say we were poor, we weren't struggling, but it was just like we did what we had to do to get by. And so, my brothers were hogging the TV with either Dragon Ball Z or wrestling or with whatever they were watching, My brothers used to do this really, my late brother, he passed away in 2015. But so I got two older brothers, and the middle one used to always watch Dragon Ball Z, and he'll pause the TV, and then he'll wait for the TV to be like on, like he'll pause whatever scene he was watching and he would sketch it. So he would hog the TV all afternoon, and I would never say. So, the next best thing to do was to either play outside, climb the trees, eat mud, or read a book. So yeah, so I did start. Yeah, I would make mud pies with my little cousins, and I was the dumb one that would eat it. So yeah, no, books was a huge part of my upbringing. And later, like towards my teenage and adult years, where I discovered cell phones, boys, and alcohol, books kind of took the back, like it just kind of wasn't my thing anymore. But now that I'm older, and I kind of have more time to myself now, and I'm more intentional with my time, I do try to get into reading. Not as much as you, but what about yourself? Like, are you like an avid reader, or?
Yeah, I am. Like, generally I am, but I mentioned this like on a podcast recently, that I went through this like recently, like this 3-month slump. And I was telling my students about it. I was like, oh my God, I'm going through this slump. Like I had books, like I've got books to read, but I just can't get into any book in particular. And then there was this book that I had seen around our school library. And then it's a fantasy fiction book that is for our high school students. So I was like, yo, I'm gonna try this. And I got totally hooked on it, because some of the themes in there were about female empowerment. So I was like, yo, this is so different, because usually fantasy is kind of like, fantasy books have they kind of like all the same-ish. But this one, the themes for this particular book was so out there and so different. I was like, yo. And then I waited for the second book, which dropped like a month ago. So yeah, like I am an avid reader. I love to read. Like, I'm a bookworm. Like, I'm hardcore at times. I especially love listening to audiobooks. Like, I'm such an advocate for audiobooks, and I really wish that more of our Pacifica authors would record audiobooks, because I feel like readers, non-Pacifica, need to hear our humor. Not just read off the pages, but hear the humor, hear the funny, or just, the aunties, that back chatting and all that kind of stuff. So I recently, I don't know if you know Coco Solid. She, her new book, How to Loiter. Okay, now I'm going to bungle the name, but Coco Solid's latest book, she released it during AAPI month, I think it might have been just before Samoan Language Week. Anyways, she did an audio recording for it. I know I'm going off tangent here, but she did an audio book recording. It's available on audio. So shout out Coco Solid. Check her new book. She's amazeballs. But what's really cool is the humor from the book. You can just hear it in the audio. It's, oh my God, I love it. So anyways, going back to your question, yeah, I am a bit crazy when it comes to books, but I also go through slumps.
Yeah. Were you that girl in high school that would always be in the library reading at lunchtime?
Yeah. I would go to the library after school if there was no sports practice. Like, our parents would get home at a certain time. My brother would have practice, sports practice. And when I didn't have it, I'll be at the library. And the librarians, I was that kid, like even in primary school, I was that kid that got to know the librarians. They knew me by name. They would give me like catalogs and like, which books are you interested in? Yeah, I mean, I was that kid, like just friends with the librarian. Huh?
Where did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I'm from West Auckland. I'm from West Auckland. Yeah, so like I was always at the Massey Library, just like I was just that kid, like the daydreamer in social studies class, learning about world history and dreaming of those places. I was that kid. Kid. So I don't know what were you like as a student? Because I know that you're a reader, but were you a oh, let's fast forward. Yeah, I mean, what were you like? Were you into sports? Were you doing all that jazz, or were you like performing arts?
Yeah. Oh, a bit of everything. And I love that question, because you know, what I'm not a teacher or anything, and I've never really worked with young people before, but I feel like I spend a lot of time of my life now thinking about my teenage years. I really do. Every day I've thought about some cringe, traumatic moment from my teenage years. Yeah, so I love that question, because I feel like if any young people are out there listening to this, you know, I really would like them to know that it's okay to not have everything figured out at the young age of 18. You know, because when you're leaving high school, you think, oh my God, I'm going to go out into the world and I'm going to, you know, work or go to university. But going back to your question, and this is going to link back to your question, don't worry. What was I like as a kid? I liked everything. I swear. But I was also quite naughty. Like, you know, anyone who's going to watch this that went to Macaulay High School, that went to Marion College. I grew up in Christchurch as well, so I went to 2 high schools. So anyone, they're going to know that I was quite naughty and backchatty, to which I'm not proud of. But I was still good academically. Like, you know, I went to university straight after high school. I was the first one out of my whole year to graduate from the University of Auckland, and my whole year level at Macaulay. So that was like, but I also played a little bit of sport. Like I played netball in Christchurch. I played rugby, performing arts. Like, yeah, I did do drama. I loved drama. I still have the most funniest memories from my drama class with my high school mates. Like every now and again, they'll tag me in a meme about something stupid that we did in drama class, or some cringe dance that Miss Graham taught us back at Macaulay. But, you know, I was that kind of kid. But it's just, you know, reflecting back on my teenage years and then on my 20s and then now being in my 30s, I know, like, it's given me such a strong sense of self in the sense that I know what kind of person I am. So I'm the kind of person that likes to try different things, and I'm not afraid to fail. And that's another thing I'd like to share with anyone young that you know, that's listening to this, especially if you're a young girl. You know, never be afraid to fail. And actually, my dad, who's in the sitting room, taught me something when I was little, because, you know, I didn't want to do things because it was hard. And when I was young, he told me in Samoan. Are you Samoan? You are? Cool. And so one thing he told me this quote. He was just like, you know, which means don't dodge hard things in life, or don't dodge hard things. So never be afraid of hard work, but I'm also never afraid to fail. And I used to be like that in high school, but not anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because you seem to be confident. Like what I mean is, like, that confidence that is why you're such an amazing podcast host. And I wonder, because when I was doing research on you, I'm so serious about this. When I was doing research on you, and it's not just recently that you've been doing podcasts. I mean, you had a talk show, like the Club How talk show, like way back. I'm exaggerating. It's not way back. It was a few years ago. But, you know, that's like, sis, that's amazing. And this was, you know, it was a community like based initiative. Can you speak to that? And what is it that got you into that? Yeah, because, man, I saw some pictures and I was like, oh my gosh, she's the real deal. Yeah. I was like, wow.
You know what? Like, firstly, I can't talk about that experience without acknowledging my talk show partner, director, and business partner that I was, well, not really, because it wasn't really a business, but my creative partner at that time. So her name is Helen, who unfortunately, sadly passed away last year. And so her and I, and this is how the talk show started. So in 2012, that was when I was 22. Oh man, I don't want to diss my mates, but like, so I was at uni, and, you know, I remember when I was at I was part of this program called Mates. I'm not sure if you had it at your high school, but anyway, I was sitting at Mates at Southern Cross campus in Mangere, and I was working with, you know, it was just this program that we did at university. Shout out to Janan, who was my boss at the time, who I absolutely adore and love. She, like, these kids, like my colleagues / fellow students said to me, oh, Fatima, we never see you doing any work. Like, that's what they said to me. And I got so offended, because I actually do work. Like, I actually do work hard. And so, you know, I was in a rush to finish my degree. And then so 2012, I was like, nah, I'm getting it done this year. I don't care if I have to take 5 papers, you know, whatever. So I took 5 stage 3 papers. Stage 3, like, man, it was a lot at the time. And I ran into Helen. I was in the computer computer room, and I hadn't seen Helen in like a whole year, and we were really close back in the first year. Or I don't think we were close. I just really liked her and I wanted to be her friend. You know, you have those girls where you're just like, oh, you're so cool, I want to be your friend. Yeah, well, that was me to Helen. Like, I was like, you're so cool. So anyway, and I was talking to her, and so my best friend and my mates that I usually mingled with would always go and drink and go out and have fun and go out for lunch. And like, I didn't have any friends during my final year. Like, they were my friends, but they just weren't around me all the time. So I would be at the library by myself. I'll be at the computer. Anyway, long story short, me and Helen used to like dream about what we wanted to do in our 30s and 40s. So then I was like, oh, okay, that's so cool. And I'll never forget those moments with Helen where we would sit in the computer lab and she would say she wanted to go to New York. And she did go to New York. She wanted to go here, London, wherever she went to. And she would dream of these big things. Anyway, the Clubhouse talk show came about when I was working as a social worker in schools in Mangere. So I've spent a lot of time in Mangere, actually. I was working in Mangere, and then I just had this idea, and I was just like, how about I just get people in a school hall, I'll hire a school hall, and then we'll just interview them. And I'd never conducted an interview in my life. It wasn't until it was come showtime. And I just want to like, thank you for saying I'm confident. Yeah, you're 100% right. I am confident, but it wasn't always like that, especially at that time. And because, you know, I've mentored so many students over the years. Oh, not so many, just like 4, but like all 4 of them have been like, wow, you're such a confident person. And they buzz out at how I tell them the story of when I used to, in 2009 and 2010, 2011, 2012, I didn't have a computer at my house. I didn't even have internet at my house. I had a laptop, but for uni. And to get in touch with StudyLink, we would have to call the 0800 number. Do you remember that? Back in the days when we'd have to call the, anyway, so I would be on the phone to StudyLink trying to sort out my student loan. And I got so nervous that I didn't know how to talk to people that I'd be waiting online for like 30 minutes. And then the girl would be like, hello, welcome to StudyLink. You're speaking to blah, blah, blah. And then I'll be like, and then I'll hang up the phone because I was just so nervous. So I'm waiting there for like 30 minutes doing nothing. But that's basically how the Clubhouse talk show came about. I loved those moments. It was just simple moments of just hanging out in the computer labs. But those moments with Helen where we would dream and talk and talk to each other, talk about all these things. I was like, how about I do that? So then I came up with the idea to do a talk show. I reached out to Helen. Helen came on, and the rest is history, really. Yeah.
How did you get the buy-in?
Sorry, that was a long answer.
No, oh my God, please, sis, do not. I'm just like, it's so inspirational. But, you know, I was also thinking as you were talking, like, you know, to take those ideas and run with it.
Yeah.
How did you get the buy-in from, you know, from the community? How did you get the support on board for this really cool initiative?
I swear to God, we had no contacts, right? I have connections now, a little bit of connections. I'll humbly say that. But at the time, we knew no one. I had no one. We were no ones. Like, we didn't even, we could barely, we had no. So it was just, so I came up with the idea in February 2014 on a Friday afternoon. I'll never forget it because my head was flooding with ideas, literally. And then I went to my little cupboard storage space office at Mary McKillop Primary School in Mangere. And I went in there and I just jotted everything down. And that was February 2014. And I told myself that March 2015, this is going to happen. And I had no confidence. I had no communication skills. I had nothing. Like, so it took me a whole year to really hype myself up. And so I told one person at a time. I didn't go out and be like, everyone, I'm starting a talk show. This is it. This is what I'm doing. No. It was like one person at a time. So it started with my best friend, and then my best cousin, and then my mom, and then my auntie. Like it kind of started that way. And then, you know, just it took a whole year for myself to hype myself up. And then I only told Helen in like November, because I realized I'm going to need someone to help me do this. And she was always one of my biggest inspirations anyway. But I was just like, sis, do you want to do this? And she was like, sis, I'm in. And we just did it. So how we marketed ourselves, it was just old school relationship building. It really wasn't anything like, we would make videos and put it on social media, and we would just like old school hustle. And my way was just one bit by bit, making friends with people, you know, and like giving them a piece of my heart, a piece of my dream, a piece of like, letting them to feel my passion. And I'm such a huge believer in that. Like, spending money on ads and social media, yeah, okay, cool, that's awesome. But nothing beats old school relationship building and connection, really. And I value that over anything. Yeah.
Man. That's so cool. Sorry. Give me a minute. So then how did it go from Clubhouse talk show to the live talks? Like, when did that transition happen? Because, with live talks, you were collaborating with, I think there was a Leva collaboration. I mean, with some organizations. I mean, that's huge. So when did you decide to, because I imagine that is another step up for your team, or for you and Helen. So when did that happen, and why did you decide to transition?
Yeah. I just quickly, before I answer that, I just want to acknowledge Mez, who was a huge part of our team. Chochi, Rowena, my friend Kalisiana, Sione, like a lot of our uni mates, because that's how we all know each other. It was uni mates would help out a lot. William, who would take our photos, his fiance, and who's now my friend Amanda, who never missed the show. Like, there's so many people that were part of the moving parts, and that I never really acknowledged, but I am acknowledging now. Sorry.
Of course, yes. Gotta give them their flowers. Absolutely.
Hard, like, man, I'll never forget it. But anyway, the transition happened because, like, it was never supposed to be a massive talk show like how it was in the Mangere Arts Centre. And so because we didn't have any funding and no one was backing us, it was just us pulling out money out of our own pockets. And we're like, holy moly, this is like a little bit too expensive now. So, Helen was so busy with her career at the time anyway. She couldn't really commit to, because we were both passionate about it, but it, like you would know with your podcast, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of time. So, I just said to Helen, sis, I love you, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to ride solo, if that's okay. And she was 100% supportive of it. And she was still backing me all the way. But the transition happened because when I first visualized this, it was never about bright lights, performances, and all of that. That was just so we could make it sound cooler than what it was. But initially, it was supposed to be in a school hall with an organization backing us, and all of it, that was what it was supposed to be. But then because we had to kind of market it, we kind of had to get people to come, and so we needed the performers, we needed stages, we needed all of this makeup, and we needed all the big names. But it wasn't really about big names. It was about people in our community. It was about amplifying the voices of leaders in our community. So we were, it was about, Helen's not a celebrity, but I look up to her like she was like Jennifer Lopez, she was one of my favorite performers, Jennifer Lopez, you know what I mean? Like, I looked up to her like she was like amazing, and like I was desperate to be her friend. That's why I would literally go and hang out with her at the computer labs in my final year of uni. But anyway, that's why the transition happened. So I was like, how about we go from Clubhouse, which is the most cringiest name ever, Clubhouse, to live talks, where we can actually put on live events and talk to people. And so when I made that transition, God is good. Leva got in touch with me and they were like, do you want to do this thing with us? I was like, yeah, sweet, let's do it. And it was everything that, I wanted in the first place, because they provided the food, they paid for everything, and they did it, literally everything. And then Vakatautua reached out, and then they said, hey, do you want to do this with us? And so bit by bit, year went on, I was doing all of that stuff. And then I realized, oh, hey, I can do this in a much more fun way. I can do it through live streaming, and then I can do podcasting. So it was, I think the whole transition was inspired by what it was meant to be in the first place. It was inspired by the original inspiration, which came from my admiration. There's a lot of Asians, right? But it came from my admiration for people in my community. That's what it was. And it still is like that to this day. So I haven't done a podcast in a while, because the truth is, Sydney is fast life. And when I get home, I just want to call my family in New Zealand and I want to go sleep, like literally. Yeah.
Wow. I want to just break a little bit with the podcast. I want to come back to it to talk about, Tima Talks. I wanted to ask about your the branding, the Pacifica branding agency, Saturday Fly. Are you still running that while you're in, now that you've made the move to Sydney? Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. So that was the intention. I was like, okay, the market that I was aiming for, well, in New Zealand, it wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work. I knew it. Like, I could feel it's not going to work. So I was like, yeah, let's go to Sydney and give it a go. And now that I'm here, I realized that was just a stepping stone to something else. So although Saturday Fly ain't flying anymore, I still keep it there as a reminder of like, hey, this is where I started. There is another business out there for me somewhere, and I'm going to use those skills and everything that I learned, because I've never failed so much in my life. Trust me, I've never failed so much in my life. Yeah, man. Like, it was like that journey with Saturday Fly was the ugliest journey I've ever had in my life. Apart from my
why do you say that? Why do you say that? Why is it? Yeah, why?
Oh, well, I mean, first of all, I had a lot of fun with my two students that I was mentoring at the time, and I'm still good friends with both of them to this day. They're actually really annoying with their referee checks. I'm so sick. I'm just like, yes, they do well. Yeah, like, come on, man, give me a break. But like, it was the ugliest journey I've ever had. That's the most sickest that period. It was only 1 year, but it was the most sickest health-wise I'd ever been in my life, because I don't know. I wasn't comfortable. And the first mistake came about when I got really drunk at a corporate event. So there was a corporate event that I went to, and I'm not ashamed to share these stories, because it's like, these are failures. People don't talk about failure enough, So, I'll share this. I got really drunk at a corporate event, and in hindsight, the reason why I got so drunk is because I felt like I was an imposter, and I felt so uncomfortable, because I don't usually act like that. Like, I went to the Pacific. I got invited to sit with Auckland Transport at the Pacific Business Awards, and I didn't act like that. I don't do that. And then here I was with a bunch of professionals my own age, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, where's the alcohol? Because I can't. This is too much for me. Anyway, so that was the first mistake. And then I was asked to deliver on a job, and I didn't do that properly. And then, like, alcohol, and then I got drunk to kind of like drink my sorrows away. And another thing it was out of my problem with my first year of business involved so much alcohol, and it was out of control, and not something I'm proud of, but definitely something that I've learned from. Yeah. So that's why I say it was.
Yeah. I didn't mean to. I'm grateful. Thank you so much for sharing that, and just being real. In terms of that, like, entrepreneurship and that kind of work, do you have some, like, plans that you're currently working on something, or you just slowly and like, do you have like another dream
Venture.
that you want to
Yes. But I think right now, because I've got so many. I've only got two. I've got two friends here in Sydney who are currently they've got a venture right now. And I think what I'm doing really is I'm using my experience and all the knowledge that I got, because I met so many amazing people. Laura Kyle Hall, you should definitely get on the podcast sometime. Amazing. Laura Kyle Hall, the guys at PBT, John, like, so many people, my friend Pauline, like, just so many people who are continuing to do amazing in business. And so the wisdom that I've got from them, I kind of just pass it on to my mates that are in business now. But I do have a dream right now. Well, not really a dream, but I voice chat with one of my good friends, Alice, here in Sydney. And I voice message her every single night. And we were talking about business ideas. And I was like, you know what would be a really good business idea? Is like corporate clothing that's actually comfortable, like corporate, like, because the only place I can find comfortable corporate wear is at City Chick and like plus size clothing places. But like, what if we get something just that we can wear at work that is going to be comfortable as well? I mean, comfort is everything for me. Like, I mean, look at, you're in a hoodie. Come on, sis, you feel me?
I leave work, I come home like, oh.
Yeah, like, for me, like yeah. So in terms of dreams, like, nothing. There are ideas about dancing around in my head, but for now, it's really just sharing that wisdom and everything that I learned with anyone who's in that. Because trust me, it's bad enough the whole journey was ugly. I think the one good thing that can come out of this is really just blessing someone else with the knowledge that was gained during that time. I'll tell you what, it was ugly. I hated it.
It's like, I love hearing that you're like, you know what? Here's something else I'm thinking about. And you like, I love the confidence. I love that you're so real and you're just such a go-getter. Like, it's so, I'm getting so pumped by just listening to you. I'm like, yo, motivational speaker much? Okay. No. TED Talk?
Honestly,
No.
whenever you're feeling down, Sunga, whenever you're feeling down, just call me. I'll be like, so you got this, okay? You got this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard you like on, speak and when on your podcast, and I'm like, man, she's such a vibe. Like, she's always amped and pumped, ready to go. Like, I love it, eh? Such a vibe. I was thinking about being in the public eye. You've been in. I know you say you didn't have so many connections, and you've really tried to build on that, right? Fostering connections with different people, relationships, different people in the community. And I was wondering about being in the public eye. What has that been like for you, despite the bad experience that you've shared? Is it easy for you to just kind of like weave in and out of different spaces and be yourself? Like, or is it that you're still quite wary of the different spaces that you move in? And do you know what I mean? Is there a part of you that you kind of don't want to give yourself too much, hold back a little? Like, what's that like for you?
I love that question. I love that question because although I've never seen myself as being in the public eye, and I don't ever want anyone to think that I think that I'm famous or whatever. That's not the case at all. In fact, I truly believe I'm a nobody and I've got so much to learn. And actually, I look up to so many people and it's crazy. But I will say this, and this is a true experience of mine. I've met a handful of people who've known who I was before I know who they are. You know what I mean? Like, I remember I had wine with someone, I won't mention who, but like, see, my first year of business, a lot of alcohol, guys, a lot of alcohol, not good. But then I was sitting and I was having wine with these three people. And there was this one lady and she was talking, but she was acting like she didn't know me. And then she goes, so how long have you been here at the Pacific Business Hub? And then I said, oh yeah, August. I actually I just introduced myself to Laura and then I got in, I got an offer straight away, whatever. And then she's like, oh yeah, that's right. Because I was so shocked when Laura said that she knew the Tima Talks girl. And I was like, wait, you know who I am? But you've been talking to me like, you're talking to me like you don't know me. Like, I've been sitting here pouring my heart out to you and you already know who I am. But, and then that's happened. And like, and even like my mate Ina, she's just like, oh my gosh, like so many people, like all my mates know you, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, do I feel like I need to change myself in different spaces? No, because maybe that's why some people don't like me. No, because I've never looked at myself as someone in the public eye. I have a dumb podcast, like, wow. Like, it's like, never thought of. That's why I got drunk at place. I didn't think about that kind of stuff because I don't look at myself in that way. But and it's interesting, and I love that question because that's another reason why I've kind of held back from posting so much on Tima Talks. Like, I used to post like my whole life on there, and people would like it, be reacting to it, whatever. But then like I realized, wow, because I posted something up of my dad's birthday. And we were celebrating, and it was at my house, my messy house, whatever. Like, and then I swiped up because I hardly ever look at who looks at my story. I don't care about that. It gives me anxiety, right? And I swiped up, and I was like, holy moly! Like, there are so many people that I don't know that now know what my sitting room looks like. Like, this is ridiculous. So then, what I did was I've got a private page, my personal page, which I've had since like 2012. It's 10 years now. And I've got a close friends list on there, and I'm posting there like 100% of the time. And I hardly ever post any personal on Tima Talks anymore for that reason. Like, I don't ever want to be in that space where people know who I am and what I like to eat and know my family. Like, that's, to me, it's just like, it gives me anxiety. Like, I'll tell you what, can I share one story? Me and my friend Tessa, shout out to Tessa. I hope you're doing well, sis. I had a podcast with her and we're talking about Free West Papua, which I'm a huge supporter of that movement. And our video, and I'll show it to you, like I'll post it after this actually. That's still on my timeline. It went viral overnight. I kid you the fuck not. It went viral. Like, it was like, man. it went like, I'm having like 5,000 views overnight or whatever. And to me, that was viral. And it got to the point where every time I refreshed my Instagram feed, the followers were going up. Like, I think I got like a good 500 overnight. Like it went, and then I was like, okay, no more, because this gave me anxiety. The fact that so many people, and these were people like, I had Brianna Fluent, who I know personally. I know Sherelle personally as well. I've known Sherelle for a long time. To me, she's like an absolute leader in the climate space in Samoa. And then she followed me, and I was like, holy moly, like these are people like, so I was like, nah, this is too much. So yeah, to go back to your question, no, I've never been mindful of any spaces because I don't think that people know me. People don't act. I mean, it's New Zealand. No one, whether you're an All Black or not, no one's going to act like you're an All Black. It's just like, no one says anything. Like these people, like I met people who are like in my generation. These are girls like my peers. These are girls in business. You already know who I am. You already know what I do. They don't know. They don't tell you that. They still go along. Oh yeah. So what's your name? And then I'm like, oh, Tima. I pour my heart out to them, and then to find out they were following me the whole time. Like, anyway, yeah, to answer your question, no, I've never thought about it. And that's why I embarrass myself left, right, and center all the time, because I don't think about that stuff. But maybe if I was, I would be a lot mindful. Like if I was really, really well known, of course I'd be wise with it. Like I wouldn't act a fool. But here I am stuffing my face with dumplings, and I don't give a shit. I drink whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, I too have a private page. I don't yeah, I also have a private page, which I do this whole thing. My friends laugh. They're like, did you go and do your spring cleaning again? I'm like, yeah. They're like, yeah, we saw your numbers dropping. Like on my private page, I just deleted all these people I didn't even know, got it down to like 100. It's just like family.
Yeah,
like 95% is family, cousins,
you
Samoan family. Yes.
You have to keep yourself safe online. Like I know I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, like, for any young people that may watch this podcast, like I know it sounds cool, like sharing your stuff, but seriously, man, you can't be sharing too much of your life, and especially like kids as well. There are some really messed up perverts out there. You got to really keep your family safe. All the people on my close friends are the people that I literally talk to every day. Like if I got a new puppy or if I got a kitten, these are the people that I would want to show my kitten off to, or my puppy off to, If I got something, like if I'm eating like a nice dinner, I want them to know first. Those are the people I want to impress. And those are all the people on my close friend story, but not like randoms. And nah. Like, thank you for supporting the podcast, but no, you will not see my messy room.
Yeah, and I mean, I also do like, because my Bookstagram, which is my Bookstagram page, is the public page, which is also my podcast stuff, right? I was like, I'm not creating another page for the Stan podcast. We're going to put it all together. But basically, everything there is, it's public. But I, because I'm a teacher as well. And so I don't know that many people at my school know what I do. Which is cool because I kind of like school is school, and then outside of school I don't really like hang with people from work, so I really kind of like separate the two. Not that I'm getting up to mischief or anything like that, but like I just that page is just for like a whole bunch is just promoting just advocacy, like just things I'm passionate about. I love the creative arts, I love music, I love hip hop, I love books. And then I've got the podcast, and I'm an educator. So my page is just for that. There was only one thing, which was personal, that my brother, he, how you can do that collaborator thing. So he posted something that he collaborated, and then he added me. So that was like, for ages I sat there and I was just like, oh, I don't know if I should accept or not. But you know what? Because it was something so, we had been on this journey together, and just the story behind it, and I was just like, nah, this is me, this is my family and my culture. So he shared that for my birthday, and then that's really kind of like the only personal thing that I have on the page. But yeah, I like you said, I do try and just keep family and school stuff on my private page. Not that I have a lot of stuff on there. It's just if I travel, I post there, and then my public page is just really just it's more about the people that I connect with on my public page. I love, especially if I'm a fan of the music, I love promoting what they're doing. Authors that I've connected with, I love pushing their books and things like that. And then of course books that I love to read. I'm that kind of person where I didn't have to do it, but I appreciate people that have come on the podcast and just kind of really, they didn't have to share, but some people shared some real deep stuff, and that meant so much to me that they felt that this was a safe space that they could come into and just really pour their heart out, like you've mentioned. So even today I'm so grateful that you, as busy as you are, and I'm sure tired after a long day of work, that you've also come on here into the space. So I appreciate that. So whatever I can do to kind of promote. I've had other podcast hosts come on here, and I love, sharing what they're doing as well, because it's just, there's not many of us, but it's like I just believe there's space for everyone. Like, I'm not going to be that guy who's like, oh, okay, I don't want to share it. Like, I just, like, if I see something I love and I'm like, yo, she's winning, this is awesome, I'm going to share that, like, yeah.
I love it. Yeah, and it's so important for us, especially in our generation. We need to keep pushing that energy of women empowerment. I'm not saying that I'm perfect all the time. There are some, but I'm saying, I have so much respect for other podcasters out there, and so whenever I can, I'm always sharing. I'm always sharing your stuff and sharing their stuff. But I have a question for you. Speaking of podcasts, as you interview more people and you're going to get out there more, your name's going to get out there a lot more. The more you create content. It's a given. Like, it's just by nature, it's just going to naturally happen that your name will get out there too, and people will know who you are before they're going to act like they don't know you, but they know you. So are you mindful of how you're going to navigate that space? And are you feeling a bit anxious about it, or how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I'm anxious all the
time.
Yeah. I am I have anxiety and stuff. I hate, sometimes I just need to take a break. I've gone through phases on my public page, where I just need a break, and I just get off there and I'm just on my private page, because I just need to breathe sometimes. And in terms of it's not that the thing with my page, in regards to your question, even thinking about it is making me anxious right now. That question got me good, because I'm just for me, I don't feel that, I don't know that my name, okay, what am I trying to say? I don't know that my name is going to get out there like that. I don't believe it will. For me, I do, the people I bring on the show, I do because I love their work. I love their grind. I love just the passion they show for their craft. They're creatives. They're just all in these different walks of life, and just smashing in their respective fields, whether they're educators or they're in the ministry or do you know what I mean? So I don't think about that. And if I was to talk about numbers and that kind of stuff, because people apparently like to look at numbers and statistics, I don't really look at that stuff, because I'm just kind of enjoying that I get to talk to these amazing people who have magically said, you know what, sure, I'm going to come and share a little bit of me. I'm in awe of that. I'm fangirling. I've been fangirling everyone that comes on. There'll be moments where I just want to cry, because I cannot believe we're having a telenoa, or I'm sitting here like a fan of this artist going, what? I can't believe they chose to come on this platform. So I am anxious, because you've asked that question, but I don't really think about it. And the reason I don't think about it is because I've had people on the show. Oh, well, first of all, I live in Japan. So I live in Japan. No one cares, man. No, I'm over here. I'm not. If I was in New Zealand, if I was in New Zealand, I feel like I'll be like, yo, I can't do that. Living in Japan, and I'm removed from that, and I go home whenever I can. I feel like I'm okay. I can keep that at a distance. You know, my friends here, when we go out, they're just like, oh, there's Rosa. You know, they big me up all the time, man. They're like my biggest fans, and I'm so embarrassed. Like, I get so mad. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
guys, like, stop it. Like, when I go out, I'm just with my family here. You know, we're with the fam, you know, with the bros and the sisters, we're just hanging out. But I feel like being here in Japan, like, I don't feel like I'm competing with no one, because I'm not, like, I feel like it would be different if I was in New Zealand. I think I've just gone off on a tangent, haven't I? But yeah, I've actually had some amazing people come on the show who are really well known in their respective fields. And I've seen other podcasts like blow up and all that kind of stuff. And I just feel like we're cruising along nicely. That's kind of how I look at it, which can be, I suppose it's naive, but it's just because I'm just really enjoying what I'm doing, and just the fact that I get to connect with these people who are like top dogs in their respective fields. Like, I've had some amazing MCs on here. Like, I love hip hop. I'm such a fan. You know, there's been some creatives, authors that I'm just like, yo, who am I that you have decided that I reached out and you said yes. I'm just so humbled by all of that. Like, and maybe I am living in a bubble because I live in Japan and I'm removed from from home and stuff. But anxious, yes, back to your question. But I just try not to think about it, because even when I went home last year, because I started the podcast in April last year. So yeah, there was a story behind that. So I started the podcast, and then I went home in June. Me and my brother, we did our Malo Fair journey. So then,
Wow.
even then, I wasn't, like, when I came home, I was meeting people that I kind of like seen, like I knew them through my brothers, but I was just like, man, I really admired their work. And then I didn't want to be that guy that asked my brother, oh, can you, or ask my other brother, can you, like, I was basically like, if I want this to happen, I need to actually face these people, because I'm such an introvert. Like, I'm that guy. If I can get out of stuff at work, like, I'm not staying around for a party. I'm just like, I'm out of here. I'm going, I just need quiet time, chill, relax. That's me. But when I came home, I was meeting people, and I kind of had to like really go out of my way and be like, hi, I really love the work you're doing. Do you want to come on the podcast? And now I'm coming home. I'm going back to New Zealand for it's summer here. So I'm just finishing up summer school, and then I'm going home for summer break, winter in New Zealand. So I just, when I go home, I just feel like I'm going home and I can just hide. Does that make sense? I can just be me. Yeah. It's just, I'm going to visit my loved ones, and that's all I think about. I like this podcast stuff. I'm going to be rolling them out while I'm away. So just uploading every week and posting, because when I'm home, I want to focus on my family, on my parents. Time is precious, and I got to come back to work in August. So I love doing podcasts, but I don't want it to get in the way of when I'm with my family. Sorry, that was such a long drawn out answer.
You know what? I actually relate to you in that sense, because, that's why I've taken a step back from podcasting, because like in my downtime, I don't want to be editing all day. I don't want to, as much as I love talking to people, I would rather go out for dinner and like, let's have a talanoa in that way, let's have, let's have a good feed, and, let's go out for dinner. That's my type of talanoa now, because like you said, when I get home, I'm in a different journey now. I'm in the corporate space. So like I spend all day being professional and pretending to laugh at people's jokes. So yeah, no, for real. Like I have to dry.
You're palangi laugh, hey. You're like,
oh my gosh. Nah, dry balls. And like, so when I come home, I want to actually laugh at funny things. Like, I want to chill out with my family and like, do that rather than being fake at work all day. But and another thing that, I think when I was listening to you, I just felt like this deep admiration for you, because you're saying, who am I? And I'm saying, I'll tell you why we say yes, is because we could consume your content all the time. Like I follow you. I actually see the passion and the hard work that you put behind your podcast. who wouldn't want to be a part of that? Trust me. Like, you could go ask Jacinda Ardern. I guarantee you she'll say yes, because your energy that I'm getting from you, straight out, like the energy that I'm getting from you is someone who genuinely wants to connect with me. And these are the people that I vibe with. This is like, I'm never this talkative on a podcast, but just you're sitting there all the way on the other side of the world, but I can still feel that you're trying to connect with me, which is that's the one, sis. Like, I've been on different podcasts, and I tell you what, I know when someone's not interested in what I'm talking about, but you're just like, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, you know. So
it's funny though, sis, when you say that, because like me, or like my friends, no way, they're like, how's the wish list looking? Because I have a wish list, and I'm like, I have a wish list of people to come on the show. Like, everyone that's come on has been on this wish list, and I just have to build up the courage, wait for the moment when I'm like, now's the time to reach out. And like, in terms of like when we record the podcast, I mostly, because some of my guests are like from overseas, like Australia, New Zealand, I'm pretty, if we have to do a weekly one, like I was so grateful you were like, I was like, yes, I'm happy to do a weekly one. But usually I do the weekends because some of my guests are from that side of the world. And so the time zones are completely screwed up, right? But like that's the weekend, because we're in summer school right now, but school finished last week. But on a usual school, like quarter of school semester, I'm just exhausted. Like, I'll come home and I'm like, yo, I just want to like eat, shower, sleep, and then back the next day to school.
Yeah,
so
man.
I feel you, I'm listening to, I'm like, yeah, I totally feel you there.
Yeah. As much as we love to connect with others, and of course I would do anything. If you ask me to do anything, I'll be like, yes, I'm doing it. Of course, it's especially for fellow Pacific sisters, man. Yes, it's always a yes. But when I can, but it's always a yes. But well, I forgot what I was going to say. Actually, never mind. I talk so much. Never mind. Yeah.
I wanted to. I can't remember the one. I think it might have been, I don't know, maybe early 2019, maybe. You're talking, there's on one of the podcasts, and it's super short. You're talking about the name change, like changing to Tima Talks podcast. And I love Tima Talks. I was just like, I didn't even know how we connected, but I'm always wary of who's following me. And then I check and I'm like, yo, okay, she's a podcast host. Did some research, but tell us about the name, and are you feeling it? I mean, obviously it's 2022. You must be feeling it because you still got the name. How was that? Like, what's with that?
Oh yeah, no. So that oh my gosh, I remember that it was like a Friday night, and I wasn't feeling live talks because I was, because I only started podcasting into 2019, So I haven't been doing talk shows for very long, but I've been getting better and better every year. So so because I see the growth in myself, and it's really important for people it's not a cocky thing to look at yourself and be like, wow, I've become so much better at what I do. I speak so clearly now, I don't say I'm all the time. Like I used to, I'm
still learning.
Girl, so like I can say sometimes, but like now when I'm talking, it's cringe. I try not to do that anyway. But I was really feeling myself. I was like, I've gotten better. I believe that I've built up the courage to make this my own. And so my name is not Live. My name is Tima. So let's change it to Tima Talk. So I did. And then I changed it, but it took a lot of, I don't know what imposter syndrome is, but I feel like, I've heard it being thrown. I need to do some research on what that means. But sometimes I feel like a fraud, like I'm not worthy and I'm not good enough to do things.
That's what it is. So, that's me. That's me in a nutshell. Carry on.
Get out of it. Get out of it. Stop, because you are killing it and you're doing so well. I swear to God. Sometimes, and I know how you're feeling, because I used to feel that way as well. And so it was a huge deal for me to really personalize my work, because it was never about me. Live talks, Clubhouse, it was always about collaborating with others. It was about, a team thing. Like, it was about community. It was about this, but here it could be about me. And this is my voice, and these are my questions, and this is my work, so it was a huge deal for me. I love that name. And I am a talker, just maybe not on public spaces all the time. I don't talk all the time on public spaces, because it's not a safe space. Let's be honest. Like, this is a safe space. You're a safe space, but like, you know, when you're putting up your stories and you're like, oh, blah, 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 it's not a safe space. So be careful of your words. You know, yeah, they say freedom of speech, but be careful. So I don't talk all the time. And also, and I'll be honest, like, you know, now that I'm older and I'm aware of the world, like I've got my own perception of the world, my views are I lean towards more the conservative side of things, you know, and so everyone knows that the conservative side of, if you have a conservative viewpoint on things, it's not a very popular opinion. So it's like, when I was being interviewed, not that I'm name dropping, but with Agnes Lohani, and she would be a great guest of yours, by the way. When she had me on her talk series during her political campaign, you know, I told her that, you know, I save a lot of these conversations for safe spaces like this, or when I'm in person with someone. Like, I'm such a huge advocate for safe spaces that I truly don't believe that being online and saying your thoughts willy-nilly is not a safe space, not a smart thing to do anymore. You know, if it's not positive, think about what you're saying. Literally, if you're not putting love out into the world, literally think about, like, it's not worth it. I've done it before and never again. So this is coming from experience. Yeah.
You know, I appreciate just these gems. Like, this is why I was super excited to have you on the show. And when you said yes, I was like, oh my gosh, I have so many questions. I really just wanted to hear these gems that you're dropping, you know, like, and I know you're like, oh, you know, no. And I'm like, nah, for real. Like, I've seen your work and I'm like, man, all that wealth of experience. Like, I wanted you to drop these gems. I wanted you to drop this knowledge, not just for me. Like, I'm taking so much away from our Talanoa right now, but just for any other people out there who are, you know, thinking of going, you know, starting a podcast, or who maybe have a podcast and are looking for that next, like, this is the next step up kind of thing. So, you know, this is why I was so excited to, you know, to have you on here, just to drop those experiences. And, you know, I was wondering about what are some misconceptions that you believe people have about podcasts and podcasters?
First of all, let me start now. Kidding. What? Like, I remember I was on Twitter. I hate Twitter. I hate that platform. I'm not built for it. You know. Are you on Twitter?
I am, and I love Twitter, but because I don't engage, man. I'm on there. Exactly what I do on Instagram. People, like, honestly, I reckon people think I'm super boring. I talk about one thing: rugby league, my favorite team, NRL. I'm posting about books. I'm posting about music. Brisbane Broncos. Are you Penrith Panthers?
Yes, I am. Penrith Panthers all the way.
So, you know, I feel like, sorry, back to you, sis, about Twitter. But I'm one of those. I don't really engage with the drama on Twitter. I'm like on my own buzz, for real. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Oh man, Penrith Panthers all the way. I've been supporting them since 2018. I'm not an OG fan, and I only just got into rugby league in 2018, and like Penrith Panthers all the way. I think they're going to take it out this year. I think
it's going to be a Cowboys and Brisbane Broncos final, but that's a whole nother. That's another episode, sis.
Yeah. That's on my podcast. Then we'll talk about that. But you know, with Twitter, oh man, like I've seen, like, it's just my best friend in the world. Anyone who knows me knows exactly who the F I'm talking about. My best friend from uni of many, many years, and he is on Twitter all the time, right? And I just like, like what the, and like he tweets some of the most craziest things. Like one time he tweeted he hates cyclists, that they're so annoying, you know, the cyclists on the road. And I'm like, but I'm the way I'm saying it was nice. The way he tweeted it was not nice. What he tweeted, and he got banned from Twitter. I was like, why would you say that? And anyway, I hate Twitter. I'm just not a fan of it. The Twitter streets can come for me if they want, but I will not. I don't engage in that shit. Fuck that.
You're so funny.
I used to be. 2018 was my final year. I was like, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. Anyway, where was I going with this? Yeah, what was the question?
We were talking about biggest misconceptions people have about podcasting or podcasts.
Yeah. So one of my mates, who I'm very, very close with, and who I've known for many, many years since I was a early 20 uni, he had the nerve to tweet. He was like, gosh, everyone has a podcast now. And I was like, so? I was like, so? And I was like, I messaged him on Instagram because he's on my personal Instagram. I was like, so what's it to you? And he's like, ha ha ha, nah, jokes. And I'm like, no. The thing is that I don't know what people's perception are of podcasters, because I don't believe it's like a huge, huge space in New Zealand yet. I don't know about Japan. In New Zealand, I don't believe it's a huge, especially for Pacific podcasters. I was talking to my friend Cam, who's, shout out to the West Network. They have a whole bunch of podcasts there. And I was saying to Cam, like when I was on their podcast years ago, I was like, oh, we should have a poly podcast. And I was like, you guys organize it. You guys do it. But yeah, we should, like, and I remember Tim Provise. Shout out to Tim Provise.
Oh, yes. Amazing. Shout out to Tim. He's the man.
Shout out to Tim. Rewa hard. I'm from Rewa too. And Tim was mentioned that it was either Tim or someone. Sorry, Tim, if it wasn't you, but that the podcast of New Zealand Podcast Awards were not diverse at all. Like they weren't.
He was tweeting about it last year, and then I saw him personally, like, bro, don't worry about it. We know you're out there smashing it. That's all that matters.
Oh, Tim is one of the goats, man. You should have him on the podcast. Yeah. I told him I have him on my podcast.
I had him on the podcast. I couldn't even believe, because he was, at the time he was teaching, right? Like, he's not teaching anymore. He's doing the whole, like, the radio host gig. Right?
Yeah, man.
And then I reached out to him, and I got a shock when he was like, sure. I was like, okay, bro, let's talk about education. He's the man.
I messaged him. Actually, I was like, oh yeah, let's get on the podcast. He's like, keen, and I just forgot. So again, because I'm moving to Australia, life is different now. But anyway, I feel like there may be like a sneak diss, if you know what I mean. There may be people who are like, haha, here we go, another podcast. Here we go, another podcast. But you know what? Shut up. Like, if that's what you think, then who cares? Like, I mean, if you're not interested, don't tune in, and also don't put other people down. We're all out here trying to amplify our own people's voices, amplify our own voices. Our voices need to be heard. 100%.
Say that louder for the people in the back, sis. Louder for the people in the back.
Like, for real, like, we need to amplify each other and our own voices. So when people have that little snickering, who snicker at people, oh, here we go, here's another podcast and another podcast. There's room for all of us to share our voice. My voice doesn't sound like your voice. Your voice doesn't sound like her voice. Her voice doesn't sound. We all have different voices. We all have different stories, and we have different talents. We all have different, contents and things that we want to talk about. So if anyone out there who's been dreaming of starting a podcast, who really, or for anyone who currently has a podcast and they want to increase their platform, don't be like me and stop podcasting. Don't do what I did. Literally just keep going. Don't be intimidated, especially when they're Pasifika. There's so much room for all of us to grow. Don't feel intimidated when you see another podcaster out there, because you have your thing and they have their thing. They're killing it in what they do. You're going to kill it in what you do. And so go hard and make sure that you have a message. My message for Tima Talks was always about connection. So it was always just about reaching out to people and hearing their stories, and also a chance for me to hear my own voice. My voice is very sexy. So I was like, let's do it. So, connection was always my message, and it still is my message to this day on my humble platform that no one knows about. But so don't ever feel intimidated when you see someone else doing another podcast. Have your message. God made all of us individually and very special. So, who cares about the haters that say, oh, everyone's got a podcast? Oh, shut up.
Yeah, I didn't follow those people. I mean, I'm like, oh, okay. Do I need to go and look online for that tweet? I don't know.
Nah, man, don't even waste your time. And it was actually my mate who lives in Brisbane. He knows who he is.
Well, honestly, sis, I love what you just shared right there. Just be on your. I'm just on my own buzz. And I think the biggest thing, like, in terms of like what you were saying, what your podcast is about, for me, it's really about amplifying voices. Like, I'm a social justice teacher at school as well. So a big thing for me is cultivating safe, brave spaces for my students to feel like they have a voice, that it's not teacher dominated. And so when I talk about that in the classroom, I also talk about it here in the space. Like, obviously I'm on this, I say in my, if you look at my YouTube channel bio, it's about amplifying BIPOC voices. And it's through things that I enjoy talking about, which is education, the creative arts, because I love music, and then just social justice related stuff. Like, there are people that have come on the show and shared things that I've really taken away. Like, this whole thing, like, first and foremost, I'm an educator. So when I bring people on, like even bringing you on today, like, you're teaching me something. Like, there are so many important life lessons and experiences that you're teaching me. And I'm going to take that. Like, every time I finish recording, I honestly sit here and I'm just like, wow. Like, I said off camera, there have been times when I've honestly wanted to gangi, like to cry, because what the other the guests are sharing is so deep and it's so heartfelt. I'm like, we're humans, right? That human emotion, and it's super, like, it just hits you right here in the fatu. So, like, like you said, this is what your platform is about. And,
but speaking, but if I may add something else, sorry if I'm, dominating, if I'm taking over your podcast, but like, when I talk about connection, we had a recent incident that happened, well, not really an incident, but was more so a degrading comment that was made towards girls from my high school. I don't know, what did you go to?
Messy, but I actually saw your post about it, and on Twitter, I know you don't want to talk about Twitter, but there were lots of amazing, there was lots of great tweets going out about your cool school, about your amazing school, right? I know what you're talking about. So yeah, man.
It's so funny. It's so funny because some of my best mates from uni and like just from the community and stuff, people that I know, they all grew up out west, and then they all messaged, they all replied back to my story. But you guys are Bulldogs, but you guys are, and I'm like, shut up. No, but it's funny because you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it was funny because like you can come at us, and that's what I didn't appreciate. I didn't even know who this guy was until he made that comment. I have no idea.
I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, I was like, and I thought, oh, is this guy trying to like get famous and get attention or do this for clout? But then he apologized, and I was like, oh wait, it wasn't for clout. He just said it just to be funny. So thank you for the apology, whatever your name is. But anyway, it's just so like, I never used to be proud to be from Macaulay because of my, like, I wasn't the, like, you ask anyone that was class of 2008, you mentioned my name, they'll be like, what a joke, like straight up, like, this girl ain't going to amount to anything. She's not going to do well in anything. She's not going to, I couldn't communicate like this. I couldn't do anything. I wasn't even a scholar. So like, anyway, like, I believe that I've come so far from those days, like in the 15 years from when I was in high school to now, I genuinely believe that I've done well. And I never thought about it because I used to always shy away from the fact that I went to that high school, because every time I went to uni and I would meet people, like, I don't want to mention names, but like I would meet people and they say, what school did you go to? Because you know how that's like always the question, what school did you go to? What school did you go to? And I told them my high school and they'll be like, ugh, they'll just be like, ew, like yuck. And so I was kind of ashamed to and then when that happened, and then it just kind of made me like want to connect with girls from my school even more, like now I follow the Instagram page, I'm support, like I try and like their stuff and stuff. And my friend Jenny, who was actually my year, she sent me a video of her in her form class, and they actually played one of my interviews that I did, which was, I was like, oh, what a proud moment, But I always want to reiterate my message, and the way I connect with high schoolers and any young girls that I engage with, it's just like, again, I never want them to think that high school is the end. You mess up your reputation. I did, for sure. You mess up your reputation and whatever, like it's not the end, and it's okay to not know what you want to do in life. You're still so young, like you're literally a baby, you're a baby in this world. So yeah, that's another thing. Like I think my message now, like before it was just connecting with everyone, but now like I really have a special place in my heart for young girls, especially girls from Macaulay, because what that guy said was not funny, and they're the ones that suffer from it. Like he goes on with his great life, but these girls are the ones that get abused afterwards. But anyway, we're past that. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
No. I'm glad you spoke on that. My niece goes to Macaulay, so
She must be so amazing.
so yeah, it's really, I don't know, discouraging when you see, like, when you hear, like, I'm not really like, I listen to podcasts that I listen to that I enjoy, but obviously there are a lot of other spaces where there are males, Pacifica males, like, I've heard things, right? I've seen tweets where people are talking about podcasts run by Pacifica males and just how degrading and that kind of, I mean, I don't want to get into that, but
Yeah.
it's always nice to be able to connect with platforms such as yours. I know, I don't know, I think Troy, Dr. Troy Ruhe from Dunedin, Otago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Sika's
great.
podcast. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's okay. That's great.
yeah, so it's cool when we hear and we see these tweets that are kind of like going off and saying, why are these guys kind of out there saying degrading stuff about Pacifica women? But then I just turn it off, because I know that there are other podcasters out there like yourselves, like Troy, that are really, driving home that message of empowerment, encouragement, the importance of mental health, that kind of stuff. So I just try and focus on that. Yeah. So I thank you so much for speaking on that, sis. Like, I really appreciate you just putting it out there. Super important. I was thinking about your journey, again, your life experiences, your life journey, and I wondered if you could speak on faith and how that has been a part of just these learning experiences, these learning curves in your young life.
Young. No, 100%. So I'll be honest, and thank you again for providing a safe space for me to share this. Since moving to Australia, my prayer life has just like, it just hasn't really gone anywhere, to be honest. And I've been doing so well here in Sydney, and I've had so many blessings, and I've just met amazing people here. The common, like, for me anyway, like when I was growing up, we were always not taught, but we were always told that people in Australia are really arrogant and rude, and and then I get here and everyone's a person of color and everyone is just nice and everyone's just really cool. Like, but I feel like I've come this far in Sydney, and I've been enjoying my life here in Sydney thanks to the prayers and the faith of my parents. Like, I know every morning my mom gets up, my dad gets up, and they pray for me and my brothers, and all my family. So that, in terms of faith, I'll tell you the truth. I didn't reconnect with God until 2016, end of 2016. And that was when a really serious relationship of mine ended. It was a guy that I really loved, and we were living together, and we were very serious. And I don't want to get too much into that, but I felt like when that relationship had ended, I had hit rock bottom, because he was my everything. And the problem is, when you make a human being your everything, what happens when that human being walks away? So then that was my sign, and a whole bunch of other signs afterwards, and a whole bunch of other leaders that I was blessed enough to meet along the way, Christian leaders, had, transformed my perception, where instead of making a person, like a guy, my everything, why don't we just make Jesus my everything? And so life got better from 2016. And I'm actually glad that relationship ended. In hindsight, like, at the time, it was brutal. It was really hard. But nowadays, like, I do have a relationship with God. I do believe in Jesus Christ. I'm actually part of the Catholic Church, and I've been told many times I'm going to hell because I'm part of the Catholic Church. That's another thing. Like I had this guy, I was on TikTok and Twitter. No, I was on Twitter, and I shared something to follow this guy from Catholic Connect. I follow them on Instagram and I followed them on Twitter. And this guy was like, "I'm sorry to tell you, miss, but your church is leading you to hell." And I'm like, just let me worship, man. Like, let me worship. Like, I worship Jesus Christ just like you. Like, relax. Just relax, okay? It's fine. So how faith has taken me this far. Like, I'm so grateful for my faith, because even though I'm not proud of this, but there are times when my faith takes a bit of a backseat, where I'm just like, okay, God, I know you love me, and I know I'm going to be fine, so I'm not going to pray tonight. Okay, God, I'm fine. But and that's not good. And that's actually my sign to actually start praying again, lower my rosary, do my rosary and stuff. but it just makes me feel like, it makes me feel so much better in life, because I know that there's always, Jesus is always there. Like, I know God has got my back always, and everything's going to be okay, and everything's going to fall into place the way it's meant to fall into place. And so that's how my faith has really, guided me in life, and has really kept me grounded. Like, sometimes when anything could happen, then I'll be like, okay, God. And I just feel better, because even though like I can't see God, like I feel, because I have faith. So I'm like, and some people think it's ridiculous. They're like, oh, you got this imaginary friend. And I'm like, well, to you, it's an imaginary friend. But to me, it's literally my whole faith. It's everything I believe in. So what about yourself? Do you go to church there, or are you part of any faith?
Yeah, I just attend a church. I attend a church here. When I came, I was going. Okay, so I work at a Catholic school here. My school, it's a girls' school. So I first of all started going there, and I remember coming home, and then I'll be like out of habit and routine. Failonga my kuluse, and my family's like, "Oh, you're not even," but it's just so habit. It's habit from work and stuff. So when I first arrived in 2015, I was going to our school because they have mass every Sunday. But then I found another Palangi church, which is like a lot of expats. And then with the COVID, with the pandemic, numbers were still limited on attending local. So I just do online local. But what the coolest thing for me, because I really missed church from back home, missed that fellowship, was during the pandemic. Obviously there in New Zealand when lockdown was happening, there was a lot of online locals. So I like log into my uncle's local, log into a local from Samoa, log into our family church. So it's kind of been, since being here, like my mom's always like, alu ele loku pele o fai e so kakalo, pauli po. And I'm like, of course, but like you said, it's so interesting to hear you, like I'm not perfect. And I also have those times where I'm just like so busy that I forget, because I know God's got my back. When you were talking and saying that, I was like, I can relate. I know I got to do better. Like, I'm not saying it just to have a laugh, because when you were saying that, I was like, I can so relate to that, sis, but I know I can do better, So, right now I'm just like, I have to do better. Like, that's kind of like my mantra.
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes, are you like me? Like, sometimes I'm like, I'm all good. I don't need to pray today, because I know my mom prays for me every morning. Like your parents kakalo every morning. I know that's so bad, but I'm like, thanks, mom. I'm not gonna kakalo because
when I go home, my family, parents always like, wherever you all go in the world, or wherever, when you leave Auckland, we're always praying for you, and every time I talk at school about, the village, about our culture, about our language, and the people that we carry with us all these miles and miles apart, I think people look at me like, huh? I think the Palangis, they do not understand, but I say, our names, our family names, we carry that. Our success, our achievements is not just, not the Palangis, it's theirs and theirs alone. Whereas I try and explain to them, as Samoans, for us, it's everyone, one person's victory is the whole village, it's the whole family. So knowing that my family, that our elders are praying for us all the time, no matter where we go in the world, like it's always that reminder to do better, because that, I do believe that those prayers, they are with us, they carry us, they give us the extra strength. Like, it's been brutal, like, not gonna lie, my friends here know, like, it's been such a brutal year at work for me, like, just a lot of just a lot has happened. It's been really rough. Like, I can't even believe it that I made it. Like, we finished school last Thursday. I couldn't believe it, that I made it to Thursday. Like, just so much stuff has happened that was really kind of testing my resolve and my patience, and my really testing my commitment to this job that I'm so passionate about. And so it's been such a rough one, and I'm just trying to get through not trying to get through summer school, because I'm loving summer school right now, and it's 3 weeks, and then I'm heading home. So I can't wait just to my family know, they're like, as soon as I arrive, I'm going to sleep, like, because they're like, here, I'm like, I sleep. But when I get home, it's like, I'm home. Like, it's just a safe space where I'm like, I'm not worried about rushing to work. I'm not, it's like family time. It's me time. So I can't wait for that to happen. I'm not looking forward to winter because I hate winter. I'm such a summer person, and it's summer, right? We're heading into summer right now. So that just went off on a tangent, but yeah.
I have two questions for you. If you're not running short on time, I should have two questions. Number one, do you speak fluent Japanese? And number two, you talking about how stressed out you have been, and how it's been so full on for you. And I can't tell, you just look glowing right now. So you're obviously doing you make it look easy. You make it look easy. So I'm just wondering, how do you wind down, especially because you're on your own and you're in a different country, in a foreign country?
Oh, you beat me to it, sis. You beat me to it. I'll respond, and then I'll ask you that. Oh, you got me. First question, do I speak fluent Japanese? No. But do I speak Japanese that can get me by? Yes. My listening is better. I can read, but it doesn't mean I understand what all the characters mean. I mean, what I mean is the Chinese characters. I can read like the basic alphabet. Like I can read that stuff. So the hiragana is like the Japanese alphabet. The katakana is for Japanese alphabet for foreign words. So I can read that. But the kanji, which is the Chinese characters, I can read some, but they have many different meanings. So can I speak fluently? No. There's no requirement at our schools in Tokyo. So there's no requirement to be able to be fluent, but I'm a pretty good listener and can pick up, and I can get by. I think if I was living in the countryside, and I say this all the time, like I think if I was living in the countryside where we absolutely needed to use it, I'll probably be super fluent by now, but there's no need for that. But I can get by. And then in terms of how do I unwind, I just want to shout out my friend Emma. She's Tongan Japanese. She just got married yesterday. She's in the States right now, went home to get married. She just completed her first year here in Japan. And she was my first guest actually on the podcast. And then I want to shout out Emma. And then my other friend, Amelia, who's Tongan. She's also from New Zealand. And then Yoko, who is Tongan Japanese. Yeah, these are just some of the people that I can just meet, have dinner, have drinks, unwind, talk about anything that's not school related, not podcast related, just us islanders, just having silly laughs and just having like us time, So how to unwind is doing that. I also quite spontaneous when it comes to like trips, whereas like sometimes I like to just get on a train and then just go and then kind of figure out along the way where I'm going. Like you can do that here because the transportation system here, public transport is amazing. So I love to do that. I love going to bookshops, but I mostly love getting on a train and just going to some random place. Like believe it or not, I love nature. Like I actually love like going to the rivers in summer, which is something we're looking forward to, swimming at the river. I love going hiking, even though you would not believe it. But I just love I love hearing that nature. It just helped me to disconnect. And when I talked about, the stressful year, it was a lot. There was a lot of different things that contributed to it. But, I kind of had to advocate for myself. So part of this was like really growing some balls, excuse my language, but, and really going, you know what, nah, this isn't going to work. But, in order for me to advocate for my students, for my learners, I also needed to kind of pick up my game and say, hey, you know what, no, actually, this is what we need in order to be able to function in the classroom, whatnot. So, yeah, it's been a huge learning curve, stressful learning curve, but a lot of it to do with advocacy and really stepping up and going, no, this is how it's going to be, and I need your support to be able to do this. So yeah. But yeah, when like I said before, I think I mentioned earlier, like that's why at our school, because it's an international school, so the international community, a lot of people kind of, it's a thing where they all kind of like hang out with each other. But for me, I'm really intentional with the people that I'm close with here. What I mean is school, and I'm not even trying to like, I mean, you know, people are like, oh, let's hang out. And I'm like, nah, school is school, like we're colleagues, we're good like that. But I'm not following you on Instagram. You can follow me on my public page, but that's it. Like on my private page is just my friends that I mentioned. Shout out to the girls who are just amazing, who just give me life, who just, you know, we laugh, we get teary-eyed, we vent, you know, all that, you know, have a good drink, eat yummy food, absolutely important. Can't be getting a drink on if you're not eating good food. So yeah, like, you know, I'm so grateful for being able to, you know, just being able to connect with the sisters, but even some of the you know, there's a Samoan community here. I'm part of a Maori dance group, like Ngā Hau e Whā. So shout out to the Ngā Hau e Whā, to the whānau. You know, I love performing. So I'm just, obviously with the pandemic, we haven't been able to perform, but that's also another outlet for me, is being able to do kapahaka and just represent New Zealand at like tourism festivals. I think they're slowly starting to open up the festivals and stuff. So I just can't wait for that first performance again. Like, I miss performing, I miss singing. I know I'm going on and on, but yeah, self-care and that kind of stuff. Performing with Ngā Hau e Whā, hanging out with the sisters, meeting up with Samoan community, and just other New Zealand expats from back home, because there's a lot of them, a lot of educators from back home who live here, and I'm so grateful just to have that ainga, you know, away from home. So I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. No, for real. No, but that's good. And it's always important to talk about these things, because I feel like some of us, especially, well, I know maybe our generation are more mindful of it. You know, we're more intentional with our time. But I know that my mom's generation, they don't do self-care. They work and they send money home, and then they do things for church, they do things for family, and they don't take time for themselves. And, you know, as a result, some of our parents, you know, unfortunately have passed on earlier than their time. And I'm a huge believer that stress really does kill you. Stress really runs you down. And, you know, I feel like when you're feeling unwell physically, it's in some ways, not all the time, but sometimes, for me anyway, it's a manifestation of what's going on in your head. You know, you know, just being here in Sydney, I've had the worst back pains. I never got back pains ever, but I just had this horrible back pain on my first weekend here in Sydney. And then I was like, what the, like, I woke up, and I'll never forget it. Like, it was my first weekend here. And then I had a nap. Like, I woke up on a Saturday morning and I went out to breakfast with my friend and her baby daughter, and my back was killing me. Like, I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And I had a nap and I woke up, I couldn't even get up. It was bad. And so it was like that from December last year until my mom came in April. Mom came to spend Easter with me because I was by myself. And when she came, I kid you not, the pain started to go away. And then once she left, the pain was gone. Now that my dad's here, and it's a little bit of a headache, but still, he's giving me a headache. But my dad's here to live. Like, he's here. We're going to, like, I've got no back pain, because I believe like all of that emotional pain, that grief that I was missing my family, it was a different world for me. I feel like it just came out of my back, and then I had really bad back pains. It's like, what the heck? I'm only 31. Like, why am I having bad back pain? I'm not a nana, I'm a mom. Like, yeah. So I love hearing that you like to hike, because I hate that stuff. I'm not a big hiker. Like, I don't like, because here in Sydney, and if you ever come to Sydney, I'll take you to Blue Mountains. Apparently there's you've been? Oh, there we go. We can go.
I've heard about it.
Yeah. So my friend was telling me about Blue Mountain. She's like, my friend Lucy, shout out to Lucy. She's like, we should go for a hike. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, no. So I guess, like, if I, you know, I'm not that you've asked me, but I'm just going to share, I know. You know,
yeah, that's a question I ask everyone. This, how do you look after yourself when you're not being amazing and doing what you do in the business world, corporate world, and doing your podcast and looking after your family?
Yeah, man. Like, you know, I take long hot showers, and then I go to sleep and I watch Netflix. I know it sounds real basic, but I don't do the whole, I lied. I spent hundreds of dollars on massage and acupuncture. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. I'm like, I don't care. Because people say, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. And I'm like, yeah, but because stress is in my body, I have to get it out. And so it's either a long walk. So my idea, my perfect Saturday, and living by myself has enabled me to do this a lot more. Is my ideal is I wake up, I have a nice breakfast, I go and see Amanda. Shout out to Amanda. She's a Syrian, I think. Anyway, but she's here in Sydney and she does my massages. Like, she knows what my bum looks like. She's like, and I trust her. She's just like, I just like let loose, and she just goes in and she lummies me so well. So anyway, Amanda, I only ever do massage and acupuncture with females anyway, because I just feel more comfortable with women anyway. So anyway, my ideal is go out and get my fufu, get my acupuncture done, and then I come home, I have a good lunch, and then I sleep. And that's like my ideal set it taking care of myself, and that's it. And I sleep and I love Netflix. I love watching random videos on YouTube. That's it, really. It doesn't get any more than that. Don't tell me to go for a walk to take care of myself. No, that's torture.
No, I love it, sis. Like, honestly, and just about the hike, like, here's the thing. People at school be like, let's go for a hike. But I had a bad experience. Let me tell you. I'm one of the, first of all, I like to go and hike on my own because I like to go near the ocean. So I've been to some really cool ass mountains not nearby, maybe an hour and a half from here. And it's overlooking the ocean. That's my buzz, man. I'm all about being near the water. But the reason why I now go on my own is because I had a bad experience when I went with some people from work, and I kid you not, they told me the walk should have been like maybe an hour or so, bro. You know why? Because they keep stopping to take photos. It was like, I was just like, honestly, and for me, like I'm not gonna hike because I'm not the greatest hiker. I gotta say that. Like, I'm doing it at my own pace, but I do it because I really love just hearing nature. I love the rustling of the leaves, the wind, if there's a breeze. I love hearing the birds. That's my buzz, man. I'm just walking and just kind of in that moment. And then you got these these guys like just taking like photos and like bad experience going with people from work, and then they would say, do you want to go again? I'm like, nah, I'm all good. I actually went this, and they're like, you didn't invite us. I'm like, oh nah, we're good. We're not like that no more. We're not like that anymore. So what I mean is, like, I'm not the greatest, like I'm not sprinting up the hill or nothing like that, but I really do love to like listen to the stream, flowing below. Like, I'm such a dreamer. I just love to just hear those sounds and just do it at my own pace. And there's lots of places just like an hour out of Tokyo here. And I hate city life. That's the other thing. I hate city life. So when I say I want to get on the train, because it's so convenient here, I just like going to just local places that it's not like jam-packed. Like, I hate crowds. I just sometimes get a ticket and then go. I'm now at summer. I'm trying to get as much beach time in. Like, I love the water before I go to New Zealand's stinky winter weather. But I'm just trying to enjoy the sun. But it's rainy season right now, and I swear the weather is so whack. Like, 2 days ago it was hot as. Yesterday it was like cold winter temperatures. Today it's hot again. So I don't even know what's going on. But I'm trying to enjoy the hot weather before I go home.
No, 100%. And it's similar to Australia. Like, to them it's like really cold. To me it's like, because we're from New Zealand, where it's like freezing cold. But here they're like, oh my gosh, it's 7 degrees. And I'm like, guys, calm down. You're not going to die. But the sun is shining though, so I don't know what they're complaining about.
I wanted to ask about book recommendations. I know, I love to ask you. And I know you talk about books on your podcast. So, sis, what do you have for us? What are you reading right now or recommend?
So first of all, I need to give a shout out to my friend Ina. She's one of my very good friends. And actually I met her through Twitter. When I was on Twitter. She was one of the positive ones, not the ones that are really mean. Got some real mean people on there, right? They say real mean things. Anyway, so I met her on Twitter, and we were actually working together in my business that failed. And she has got her own book page, in case you want to follow. So she's got a book club actually on Facebook and Instagram. So it's called Zena Reads. I've actually got a highlight on my timeline. It's called The Top Shelf, and that's what her book club is called. So, yeah, man. So it's like huge supporter of her and her love for reading. But this is a book that her and her friend, who I'd never met before, this was their farewell gift to me before I left New Zealand. And it's called A Tribe of Mentors by Timothy Ferris. And I'm not going to be fake and say I've read it, because I haven't read it, because I live a fast life here in Sydney. But it is on my top. I have skimmed through it a little bit. Like, we have a pool in this apartment, so I was like reading it by the pool during summer. And it's actually really cool. So they've got all these famous people on this book, and it's just like really hard and fast interviews. And I have a business idea for you. Reads with Rosa can totally do something like this with our Pacific community, or with a really niche market like expat teachers in Japan or something. That'll be really cool. And then you can sell it. And then you can give me a shout out on the page.
Of course.
But yeah.
When it happens, I'm coming for you. I'm coming straight to you, like, sis, what's up? Tell me.
Gather every single amazing speaker you've had, and just have written words, like, you know, like they've got Will Smith on this, Tom Peters, Tom Hanks, like huge. Like, I'm gonna start reading this actually, and then I'll talk about it more. But yeah, that's my book recommendation, because even though I haven't fully read it, I can already tell it's a good one. So
yay, I'm gonna look that up after this and download it. So, you know, earlier.
Yeah, take credit on every page.
So, you know, earlier you mentioned about, you know, you've got these ideas of perhaps future ventures, or you've got one on, you know, now that you're thinking about. But in terms of your podcast, in terms of your ventures, entrepreneurship, that kind of stuff, business, I'm looking forward to seeing where that takes you. Whenever you drop news on that, I can't wait to see what that is. In terms of your podcast, I wanted to know, what is the next step for Tima Talks?
I love that question. You know, I've loved every single question you've asked me, because it's literally what I want to share. And I'm so grateful that you asked me to be on your podcast, because I haven't shared content in so long, and, you know, and because I just don't have the time for it, and I just don't have the energy for it. So, but I always have the energy for another Pacific sister. Trust me, like, I'll make time for that. And so thank you for giving me your platform to share this, because I've been wanting to share this for a long time. So now I can use your platform to do it. But I'm going to just take a little step back from podcast at the moment. And I really just want to use Tima Talks just to share parts of my life, not everything. You're not going to know what my missing sitting room and what my embarrassing family look like. Honestly, when my embarrassing drunk family, when they're drunk, because I used to share stuff like that. And then I was like, whoa, my cousins are dancing real ugly right now. I don't want random people to see that. But, you know, I really want to share key parts of my life that I think that people can benefit from. So I love that you mentioned it. So I'm going to start sharing my health journey. Shout out to Viv from ZLT Fitness, who I'll be training with next week. And she and I are going to get me nice and fit. And I love my consultation with her, and because she was just like, what do you want to achieve out of this? And I was about to say like weight loss and whatever, but she really inspired me, because she's a mum, and she works with other mums. And I don't know, because I'm not a mum myself, but I can only imagine that the whole conversation with health would be totally different when you're a mum, because it's no longer about trying to get your old body back. It's really just trying to recover and feel better, you know. And so when I was talking to her, she said all what she wanted to say, because I was about to say, make me look hot, make me look this, make me this. But then after I was talking to her, my goals kind of changed. And that's why, like you said before, it's really good to be intentional with who you surround yourself with. You know, you literally are who you hang out with. So anyway, with Viv, I told her, she was like, what are your goals now? And then I quickly changed my mind. I was like, my goals are, I want to have more energy. I want to have more energy to do things that I love. Like, I actually do like creating content. I just don't have the energy for it. I don't have the time for it. You know, I have to be talking to my family in New Zealand. I can't be on iMovie and GarageBand. I can't be on GarageBand all day, you know, editing. This is not my jam anymore. And so what I want to do is I want to have more energy to feel good. And I also want to be fitter. Like, I want to have more energy to be able to, like, you know, go out and try and enjoy nature. The whole reason why I don't enjoy nature is because I'm unfit. Honestly, 10 minutes into the walk, I'm like, nah, stuff this, I'm out. You know? You know, so, and also I just want to feel better, and I just want to be more confident in myself. I don't want to look at myself in the mirror and be like, man, I just feel like a failure because like I eat out all the time. And anyway, long story short, that is what's next that I'm going to be sharing. So I hope, if you don't like it, just mute me or unfollow. But I think that's what I'm going to share, because I think a lot of girls in their 30s who haven't really prioritized their health, me being one of them, I feel like this is a part of my life that I feel like I could share that could benefit other people. But in terms of sharing everything, like, like vlogging and stuff, which I used to do back in the day, it was so much fun. Now that's not really something I like to do. So that's what's next for Tima Talks. So I'll just be talking about training at this stage. So that's the chapter of my life, is really focusing on my health. I'm only 32, looking 22. Get ready, guys. It's coming.
You are awesome, sis. I'm so pumped right now. Like, I'm listening to you. I'm hooked on every single word. And, one day at a time, one day at a time, just do you. Like, who cares? People who want to follow and support, those are the people that are going to be there. Don't worry about everyone else. They can buzz off. Like, you don't need to worry about that. You don't even need to think about that. You just stay in your lane, stay on course, and do you. Like, I'm so pumped listening to that next next leg of the journey, next chapter for Tima Talks. So inspirational, sis. I wanted to ask, after you shared your book, like, if a book was written about you, what would it be called? Or would you say Tima Talks?
What would it be called? Wow. What would it be called? If someone wrote a book, well, who's writing it? You?
Well, I don't know. Just maybe a famous writer. Not me. Definitely not me. Meanwhile, what would you write? If you had to write a book, or if someone was writing a book about you, what would you want it to be called?
All right, if I was writing my own book, I'll probably call it The Tima Talks. Yeah, I'll call it The Tima Talks, because I can talk about anything. Like, I truly believe that I can, and anything that I'm passionate about, man, you won't get a or a from me, man. You will be sold on whatever the hell I'm talking about. Trust me. Yeah. So I'll probably call it The Tima Talks. That's what I'll call it. I'm a really confident person, and it didn't happen overnight. And it's not a cocky thing. I'm not cocky about that at all. I use it to my advantage, and I hopefully, people see the way I carry myself so confidently, and I hope that they can be inspired by it, because and thank you for giving me a chance to explain where this confidence came about, because I only started being confident at 25, and I'm only 32 now. So it's definitely not something that happened overnight. It's not a new thing either. So
I'm inspired by it. So thank you. This is, I'm going to get into the thank you. Like, I am inspired by what you have shared tonight. I said before, you have dropped so many gems on this life journey of yours. And I can't wait to see that next chapter of your journey. I'm so grateful, sis. Thank you so much for, just coming on the show and just being real, and also asking me questions. Like, man, I'm so humbled right now. Like, I think the biggest takeaways from this is, like, I have this whole thing with the whole imposter syndrome where, I'm really amped about what I do. I enjoy it, connecting with people, but I'm always like, I don't know if I'm worthy, like exactly what you were saying before. I'm working on it. On it, like, one day at a time. So hearing, a fellow Pacifica sister, fellow Samoan sister, just doing her thing, and just so out there, and just be like, you know what, I'm going to own it. Like, you've inspired me so much. I'm like feeling so much motivation. I'm feeling so empowered right now. So I want to thank you for that. But this is the part of the show where I ask the guests to drop that last final words of wisdom, final words of encouragement for anyone who's listening.
Before I do that, can I give my thank yous? Okay, man. Well, I want to thank everybody that listens to Tima Talks. Like, I can't believe people like even still like hit me up and whatever. But like, thank you for having me on your platform, because I have been struggling. You have no idea, sis, since the beginning of the year. We're halfway through the year now. I've been thinking, I have to drop content. I have to drop some content. I have to. And it's been a struggle because of time, energy, the way my life is right now. And sorry if I'm getting repetitive, but like, life is busy for me right now. So thank you for giving me this chance to share, because on each podcast I've had, it's been really condensed, and I haven't really been given a chance to really talk about high school, which is like, I've been thinking about that for a long time. So it's traumatic experience for me, if I'm truly honest. And then also like my business journey, another traumatic experience, very ugly year for me. So, thank you for giving me the safe space to share it and to also reflect on it and giving me a chance to drop these gems. Like, not many people do that. This is only my 4th podcast, like, thank you for giving me this space, because not many people do it. And I'm sure you're going to know what I mean. Like, it's always nice being on the other end. It's always nice when people show interest in you, like and I'm sure you feel this way, like you give so much of yourself to others. So when people ask you a question and show interest in you, it's like, oh, thank you. So you've really made me feel good tonight, which I really appreciate that. And so it's something I really needed. So thank you. And I can't wait to see you cross off your wish list and kill it with your podcast and write all the books that you want and write autobiography. And girl, like, I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see, what comes off Reads with Rosa. And I'm so honored to be part of this platform. So thank you. Very inspiring. Gems. Oh, what was the last one? I would say that, my tagline and my platform is connection through conversation. And just because that's Tima Talks tagline doesn't mean it can't be yours. So, when you're engaging in these conversations with people, connect with them. Don't be on your phone. One of my good friends who I'm really close with, sometimes I'm talking to her, she's on her phone. And I'm like, girl, I'm talking to you. Like, come on. Oh. Really, really connect. And so even like in this podcast, I know it's a podcast, but to me, it feels like a conversation. I swear to God, this is how I talk with my mates. Like we are very interesting, me and my mates. Like, this is how I talk. So I talk with such passion. So I'm not saying you have to be dramatic and talk passionate like me, but it's really important that when you're communicating with someone, like when you're conversating with these people, really connect with them. So yeah, just connect with others when it's not only is it respectful, but it just makes it that much more meaningful. And you never know the impact that you're making on someone else's life or the impact that person's going to make on your life. And, I know it's hard when you're young because you have FOMO. Any young people who are watching this, I know it's hard when you're young. There's this thing called FOMO, but trust me, be intentional with who you spend your time with. Mm-hmm. Do it, like, seriously, like, you're not being a B word, you're not being mean. It just means that you're reserving yourself for things that align with your purpose and your goals, whatever that may be. So yeah, be intentional with your time, people you spend your time with, and also, connection through communication, man. Connect with people. Don't be half-assed about your relationships. Just be all in or nothing. Yeah. Oh, and that's the key to sales. Can I say one? Do you know what? Now, straight up, I like to pride myself. I was telling my friend Tui, because he just started a business. I was like, Tui, I'm like a really good salesperson, and he's like, yeah, whatever. But anyway, like, I truly believe I'm a good salesperson because of that. Like, I've had some really good.
I've heard you. I watched this interview. I can't remember what it was. When you were doing the your business venture, right? I heard you on the radio talking about it, and I was so like, man, like I was literally watching it last week going, she could. That's why I was like, man, I wonder what other businesses and stuff that that you do, because I was like, you can sell anything.
Seriously, no, I can only say, well, yeah, thanks. I can only, I know, because like my mate was like, you're not a salesperson, and I was like, yes, I am. Like, I convinced him to like take me to McDonald's, which that kind of, anyway, long story short,
but it's your line of questioning. It's your line of questioning. Like, when I watched it, I was just like, oh, I would not even think of that. I wouldn't think to go deeper and like really break down that one question. That I was just like, hey, what? This is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for acknowledging that. And again, that took years and years of interviewing and podcasting and interviews that no one even watched. Like, I've got interviews that I did years ago when I used to go I'm all the time at my house, in my parents' house, and only has like 50 views. So it's like practice, but anyway, so I'm in a sales role right now. Commission is amazing. And that's what drives me. But also, I just need to sell things that I believe in. If I don't believe in it, it's not going to happen, because it's just like, but I've been told many times I'm a good salesperson. So, and I like it as well. I get a kick out of it. Like, I really do. Yeah. I'll tell you what, when I was at Marion College, there was this girl, I forgot her name, but she kind of had no friends. And then I felt sorry for her. So, but she was selling chocolates for her camp or whatever, for like her little sister's camp. I kid you not. We went all across lunchtime. I hung out with her and we sold her a whole box of chocolates.
Done.
Like, what? Well, I can sell chocolate. But anyway, yeah, I love being a good salesperson. So like, you know, with the, oh man, I'm going to stop there. But anyway, yeah, like all the skills that I've learned from podcasting. And that's why I'm kind of over it. You know, as much as I love this and of course I love talking to people, but it's more than just turning up and talking to someone. There's the editing, there's the communication. Then you got to find a photo. Then you got to go on Canva. Then you got to do this. Like it is so much work to do. That's why I'm over podcasting, but I'm not over the conversations. And so I feel like I've learned so much from the podcast that I'm like, let's move on. Let's try and get healthy since I'm not a healthy person at all. You can't pay me to eat a vegetable. I'm just like, it's not going to happen. So the next challenge is to actually enjoy eating vegetables, right? So Viv, don't worry. ZLT Fitness, I will eat a vegetable for you.